Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to talk about the AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT graphic card. And even though I know that it's really hard to get a graphic card at a normal price currently, still want to take a look at the specs and of course the performance. Since with this card I'm going to build an ultimate AMD build with the Ryzen 9 5900X. So there's going to be a separate video for that. Today we're going to take a look at this graphic card. This is maybe the first time that we have triple fan for a reference model, and this is quite interesting. Even though the R here looks like Team Rocket, it really is an outstanding design, and I would say that one of my favorites so far. Now let's talk about some specifications. We have two 8-pin connectors for this graphic card, and with that you need two cables, of course logical. So you can play with this, they say uncompromised 4K gaming, AMD Fidelity FX optimized, 16 gigs of RAM, and PCI 4.0 ready. In the box, which I mean I have to show you, it really looks brilliant. You have the user manual, which doesn't say that much except to be careful when placing the card and all that is to it. Now when it comes to some pure specification, it has 72 compute units and array accelerators. Its peak half precision compute performance is 41.47 teraflops and 4608 stream processors. The boost frequency is up to 2250 megahertz, and peak pixel fill rate is up to 288 GP per second. Since we mentioned the peak half precision, now it's time to mention of course the peak single precision compute performance, which is 20.74 teraflops, texture units 288, game frequency up to 2015 megahertz, ROPS 128, and transistor count is 26.8 billion. Typical board power is 300 watts and minimum PSU requirement is 750 watts. Talking about the GPU memory, Infinity Cache is 128 megabytes. It's using GDDR6 with maximum memory size of 16 gigabytes. Memory interface is 256 bits, memory bandwidth up to 512 gigabits per second, and memory speed is 16 gigabits per second. You have DisplayPort 1.4 with DSC and HDMI 2.1, VRR and FRL. Now let's mention some of the technologies that it is using. DirectX 12 Ultimate, AMD Fidelity FX, Radeon Image Sharpening, Radeon Software Performance Tuning Presence, AMD FreeSync Technology, Radeon Anti-Lag, and Radeon Boost. Now the one thing that is left is basically these are all technical specifications that some of you might be interested and some of you might not. I know that most of you are looking for the FPS in gaming. So we're going to test the graphic card with the 5900X processor, of course from AMD. I'm going to make a nice build just for the visuals, but the performance is what we're after. So let's check out the build and the performance. So as promised, AMD Radeon RX 6800 XT. Even though it's really hard to acquire a GPU, AMD sent this one out for a review just to test it out and to basically compare everything to other GPUs that were on the market. So okay, let's start with synthetic benchmarks. I do have to say for the temperatures, it went up to 72 Celsius degrees when stress testing it in AIDA 64 Extreme Edition, and I would say that is quite alright without a doubt. Now Cinebench R15, I'm using Cinebench R15 just because I have loads of benchmarks over there. So OpenGL 269.22 FPS, which is of course outstanding. Now Indigo Bench for bedroom we got 14,115, and for the supercar 29,587. Time Spy GPU score is 17,055, and let's start. Okay, Firestrike graphics score 51,761, physics score 34,597, and combined score 12,121. As I said, I did also the gaming part as well. So Deus Ex Mankind Divided in 1080p we had average of 193, 1440p 129 fps, and 4K 70 fps. Now basically, before, I don't have to mention all the games right here, but for instance, if we take into consideration, I tested in Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Battlefield 5, Destiny 2, For Honor, Hitman 2, and we have Control and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So basically, checking out the only lower FPS, the lower average of FPS was in Control in 4K was 54. Everything else was above 70. Destiny 2 and Battlefield 5 actually was about 120 in 4K. So combining it with AMD Ryzen 5900X is basically a good, definitely a good option. And with this graphic card and this processor, you could play without any issues on 1440p, because all the FPS were above 200 except in Deus Ex, Hitman 2, Control of course, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was 142, Control 112, Hitman 2 150, and Deus Ex Mankind 129. So basically, as you can see, all the graphs with the average FPS on 1080p, 1440p, 4K, and low 1% FPS, this card really does an outstanding work. I do have to say that on 21st of April, AMD actually released a revision of their control software for the graphic cards, the Radeon software Adrenaline. So with the new 21.4.1 revision, you have new possibilities, advantages, new technologies, and everything else. For instance, you have the stress test for the primary and discrete graphic card. You have the AMD link. You have basically, well, this is what you had before: software and driver updates and stuff like that, issue reporting. And then we have the performance monitor as well, which kind of really does give you loads of information that you might find interesting if you're into that thing. And basically they're giving some sort of a new and much more user-friendly control panel that will definitely help you navigate easily, I would say. But all in all, the 6800 XT really did perform more than, even better than I expected personally, and I have to say I'm really glad that I had the chance to do it. Unfortunately, I would usually say the links are below, but basically I don't know if there's any use, since the graphic cards are either in a huge shortage or prices are just insane. So honestly, I don't know what to say. This is actually really sad that you, me, and everybody else can't buy a decent or an extreme graphic card without spending so much money on it, because otherwise this build wouldn't cost this much. It would be most likely even half of the price, if I can say it so. But yeah, nevertheless, it's, if nothing else, I usually liked to check the benchmarks of the graphic cards, processors, and stuff like that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Click the thumbs up button, leave a comment, what's your thoughts on the graphic card, on the current situation, and everything revolving around graphic cards. And of course, subscribe for future content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye bye.